going on, CHTV fans? We're back. It's Joseph Randolph.
And Brian Maafi.
And this is Packers Draft Room. We're going to get right into this linebacking class. Brian, give your summation of this group here.
It's not a good class overall, and it's not great for what the Packers' needs are. It's a class kind of full of a lot of will-type linebackers, and they kind of need more, middle linebacker. I mean, they need depth, of course, but I mean, as far as like top of the draft and stuff, it's not great.
It's not a great class at all. It's not a great class to need a linebacker. However, we are in for a scheme change, and going from two inside linebackers to probably one, scheme can protect the lesser parts of these guys' game. I don't expect the Packers to reach for anybody. If a guy just falls in their laps, they'll take him. But I think the position group might be strong enough to get through this season. And then, maybe next year with the class coming up, which should be a little bit better. They can maybe select a guy who can be an impact right away. What's your take on that, Brian?
I mean, yeah, there's only, like I said, it's not great for the middle linebackers. There's only like really a few middle linebackers class. So, it just really depends on what they want to do, and it's just not a great class overall.
Yeah, so if the Packers don't select anybody, it wouldn't surprise me if they, there's probably two or three names that people are screaming for probably when day two starts, but it would not surprise me at all. They may find some undrafted guys, as a matter of fact, and they compete for snaps as the season wears on. But I think this group that we have is more than serviceable. Is more than serviceable, and they'll make it work. So we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna go with what Brian and I so far agree on is our undisputed number one, and that's Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M. Edge, as he goes by, he's a cannonball. He's I don't know if I would call him undersized, but he's 6'2", and I've got him at 230, 34-inch arms, which is honestly perfect. He's a guy that see ball, get ball. He hits with intensity. I don't want to call him necessarily an old school linebacker because he does have a little bit of coverage ability, but he's definitely a guy who can definitely contain the run and can get down to the ball carrier quickly. Brian, what's your take on Edge?
Yeah, I mean he's probably linebacker one in this class. We saw it by the testing. He's an athletic freak. 6'2", 230, ran like a 4.51 flat. So, fast and all that stuff. You see his athleticism on the field. You see his length on the field. He can make some pretty crazy tackles because of those long arms of his. I only think it's his vision sometimes still needs work. His reading, reacting, sometimes he's a tick slow. That needs work. If he can get that fixed, then he can be really, really good. But I think that's kind of what's holding him back right now. And then of course his experience in coverage, and then just different coverages, doing man, doing zone, stuff like that, improving that. My only thing with the Packers is I don't think he's a great fit with Quay because they're kind of somewhat similar players, and they both would be better off playing on the weak side. So I don't think they're a great fit together. But I still think he's probably the top linebacker in the class.
I think he'll be okay. Like I said, the coverage part is an issue, but when you're going to even front teams, really you can kind of pick your poison on who's the cover man in the linebacking group. Inside linebackers can just cover running backs, which gives them a little bit more time because the running back's got to leak out of the backfield first. He doesn't necessarily have to cover a tight end or by any means a slot receiver. There's ways to scheme Edge to where he can be effective. And I agree with Brian. Edge and Quay are kind of, cut from the same cloth, but there's a way that both of them can coexist in the system. It just has to be drawn up. And I have faith in Coach Half to make that work. All right, going to our next guy. Me and Brian kind of disagree on this one, but we're going to list number 2 as Michigan's Junior Colson. I liked seeing what I saw from Junior, throughout the year. A little bit heavier than Edge. I don't know if he's quite as athletic. We don't have any testing numbers on him, so it's really just gonna boil down to the tape. Um, he's definitely got the coverage skills. I don't know if he's maybe as strong as Edge in the run. So if you want to just your cover guy, Junior Colson may just be it. It's just the issue of he was hurt, didn't test, and some people might have some lingering questions about is he going to be good to go for the season. Brian, what would you take on Junior Colson?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he actually is a great fit with the Packers because he's that true middle linebacker. He'll call the defense. He's got good vision. He can call out plays and stuff, and he can make adjustments on the fly. I think he wasn't used in coverage, or Michigan didn't ask him to drop in coverage a super lot. So it's still a little bit of an unknown, I would say, in a way. I mean, we did see him obviously drop at times, but it wasn't a super lot. So that's something he still needs improvement, of course. Like most college linebackers, are very few of them are already great in coverage. But I think he gives you a good guy who can play in the box, he can defend the run, but he can also play sideline to sideline. Like you said, we didn't get any athletic testing on him, but from watching his film and from other people I've talked to, he would expect it to test pretty good. Probably not as a freak like a 9+ type or anything like that, but probably in the upper 7s or low 8s, something like that. Maybe even mid 8s as far as RAS. But yeah, I think he can do it all. And like I said, I think he'd be a great fit in the middle, next to Quay, calling defense, like just Quay, just do his thing and just run and hit and just playing in space and stuff like that.
I like it. You think he's second round?
Like end of second round, yeah. I would.
Second round? Okay. I don't know where I'm going to place him. I think I could place him mid second, and I could place him mid third, somewhere in that range. So we're about the same. So we put Junior Colson over the next guy, which really I think could compete for the best linebacker in the class, and that's NC State's Peyton Wilson. Wilson's a little bit lighter than maybe some people might want. He's a little bit more of a slender frame, and probably he's taller. He's 6'4". So he looks really more like a safety with just a little bit more muscle, but he's got the range. The issue is, he's been hurt for a lot of his career, but he put it together. A former wrestler. I know we like to talk about offensive linemen and defensive linemen who have a wrestling background. Wilson is a former wrestler, so he understands leverage. He understands how to get by folk, with relative efficiency. He is probably maybe a little bit earlier than what people may like to think, but he's probably the true modern NFL linebacker. As we get to smaller players in the NFL, I think Peyton Wilson's probably going to be what the inside linebacker looks like in the next, 3 to 5 years. Not so much the short or shorter, stout, kind of cue ball type players, who have a little bit of speed to them. I think Peyton, because some people may have a good, they may just fall in love with him as a prospect. I think he has sneaky back end first round potential. Brian's probably going to disagree with me on that.
No, I mean, I like Peyton Wilson. Of course, the only thing that be concerned about, of course, is like injury history. He's got. People also forget he's had some shoulder surgeries as well. That's not just the 2 ACLs. And of course, linebackers need their shoulders, because of use for tackling. So those are the concerns, of course. And of course, he's a 6-year guy, so he just turned 24 recently. So that's a slight concern, just the age, of course, like I said, and the wear and tear in his body. And then his arm length, his arms is short, at least for the Packers' preferences, shorter than what the Packers like, which is why I kind of don't think the Packers are going to take him, or actually have him on their board, at least to where they would potentially take him. He's probably like day 3 type of thing on their board. But I do like him as a player. Like I said, he's a playmaker. He can rush, he can drop in coverage, he can play the run, He can do everything, and like I said, he'll make plays. He'll get interceptions. He'll get sacks. He'll get tackles for a loss in the backfield. He's just a really good player. And I think he could probably pack on. I think he dropped a little bit of weight for the combine. I think he played a little bit heavier, but he was like 233 at the combine. I think he plays at like 238, something like that, which is fine. He ran like basically a cornerback 40 with 4.43. So yeah, he is. I mean, he's definitely a freak athlete. He's a really good player, and if not for the his age, his injury history, he'd probably be my linebacker 1. So that's why I don't have his linebacker 1. But as far as fit for the Packers, I just don't think he's a good fit with them.
A little bit older. The medical is, especially the shoulder. But as an armchair GM, I got to think he's 24. If he can just last 6 years.
Yeah, he just turned 24.
If he can just last 6 years. Because, I mean, to be honest, like looking into next year, the inside linebacker class is a little better. After that, I mean, I just need him to last for 4 or 5 years, and then we can cut bait because premier inside linebackers just don't come around anymore. Like I said, he's probably the true modern day linebacker. And this is why we see safeties converting to linebacker, because those guys are getting smaller because they're being asked to do more. They're asked to cover more ground. They're just essentially bigger safeties. So as we get into the next couple of guys who are more traditional inside linebackers, they're kind of gonna fall out of style, honestly. So I think he's on their board. It's just the value based on the injury and the age. Like I said, if he's still there, let's say if he's there maybe at 61. I don't know if Brian will pass that up. I don't know. If he's there, it's like 61, 68. If he's there at 91, I mean, you got to pull the trigger. I mean, at that point, you got to, at least for me, you got to pull the trigger. All right, going to our next guy, also the ACC. That's Cedric Gray, and he's more in the mode of your traditional linebacker. I have him just a hair under 6'2". Longer arms than Wilson at 32.5. Probably, I say 32.5 is probably what you want for a linebacker, an inside linebacker, somewhere between 32.5 and 33.25. Gray was at the Senior Bowl. Love Senior Bowl guys. He showed out. He showed the range. He showed the motor. If he was a little bit bigger and probably tested a little bit better, I think he's a solid second-round guy. But probably because of being a little bit smaller, maybe not as good of a tester, I think he's probably the back of the third round. But he's a person that I think can definitely overplay his draft position. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably a tiny bit higher on him than you. Or like, I think he's a third rounder for sure. He's an athletic dude. Even though he didn't test super great, it's mostly the agility scores, which hurt him. Which I think, with how bad his agility scores were, I think that takes him off of Green Bay's board, or at least off, as far as like where he's going to go type of thing, to where like where they would be willing to take him, he'll be gone by then anyway type of thing. So I think he's basically off the board. But like I said, he's an athletic dude. He can drop he's pretty good in coverage. Actually, surprisingly, he's good in coverage. His play against the run can be inconsistent. He's not great against the run. He's another guy in this draft class that's another one of the wheel type guys. You want to put him on the weak side and let him just kind of run and hit and tackle and cover and do that type of stuff. But had a good workout otherwise, other than the agility drills. But yeah, good player overall, I think. And he had like 8 sacks this past season, so like you can blitz him too. It's just his play against the run is kind of inconsistent. Overall, he doesn't show a lot of strength in the run game.
I think that has to do with his size. A little at 6'1", he used to be able to get away with linebackers about 6 feet, even 6'1", but guys are trending to be taller and leaner. But there's definitely a space for him in the NFL. Just going to take the right system. I think, he might be off the Packers board. Just not so much for the agility, but just because of the size.
I think it's agility.
So, because, I can't think of who brought it up, but as the game starts, the college game starts to evolve in technology. If you guys been paying attention, college football is adding the 2-minute warning, and now they're adding communication in the helmets. So I think we're only about maybe 2 to 3 years away from them adding tracking, like widespread across college football. And sometimes the tracking will show you better than what testing will. I think Cedric Gray, despite the poor agility, is probably a better athlete in that, more agile than he gives us notice to. But unless you have those advanced metrics, you just don't know. Probably guys who did bring him in for a workout probably did that to see, like, is the testing what he really is, or is he greater than that? So, and probably for those who, I don't know if Junior Colson got any workouts, but those are the things that teams will take a deep dive on that we don't have at our fingertips, unfortunately.
Yep.
All right, well, there's a big household name that you guys have been clamoring for, but really, me and Brian are a little cool on him, and that's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out of Clemson. Obviously, if you've been watching this game for a while, you're very well acquainted with his dad, who was a standout for the Eagles and more than occasionally wrecked the Packers' playoff chances with stout defenses. Well, his son's coming to the pro game. He's not as big as his dad. I don't think he's as big. I don't think he's as fast. I don't think he's as strong as his dad. He's like Junior. He's a mini Jeremiah Trotter in every sense of the word. But he has the instincts of his dad. He's got a very high football IQ. Typically, when you get guys who are like the sons of former like all pros, Hall of Famers, if they don't have anything else, they have great instincts. They have great IQs. So Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is right in that mold. He can cover. He can cover. But the issue is, he's a little short. And is he going to be able to keep up with the best of, the NFL's athletes? Obviously, like, the biggest thing when it comes to being on the defense, or really just in general, is adjusting to the speed of the game, because now everybody is fast. And then you get surprised with how many people are actually faster than you, despite people being, telling you all your career like how great you are. Then you get to the NFL and you realize, you're just like in the middle. So, and that's kind of where Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is. I would still possibly bite for the instincts and the ability to cover. But I'm probably, after Cedric Gray, we're probably based on Jeremiah Trotter Jr.'s skill set, we're probably trending towards the 4th round. I think his name gets him drafted higher than that. But I think the true tape and the testing is going to tell us that he's probably a priority 4th round guy. Brian, you agree?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Trotter. I put it. The thing with Trotter was, he had some good counting numbers in college, but he's kind of a misfit in the NFL. He was 6 foot 228. So size wise, he's built more like a weak side linebacker, but his skill set and even his athleticism is more of like a middle linebacker. So he's kind of a little too small for a middle linebacker, and probably not athletic enough to be playing on the weak side. So I'm just not sure where you fit him in, especially as like a starter. So that's why I think he's probably a day 3 guy, like 4th round, and someone takes him and then they just let him kind of back up and kind of play different spots and just see if maybe he can develop into a starter. But basically, you're looking at a guy who's probably going to be a backup, backup most of his career, I think. He'll make some plays here and there, but it's not going to be consistent enough. And his athleticism, or his lack of athleticism, shows up on the field a lot of times.
Yeah, we're going to wish him the best, but he's probably not a Packer guy.
Nope.
But we do have a Packer guy coming up, and he might be in an article, maybe, wink, wink. And that's Mizzou's Tyron Hopper. Hopper, he's got the size, roughly 6'2", 231. Arm length is just a hair under 31 and a half. But I still like the build. Hopper has instincts. He shows range on film. Didn't necessarily test well, but he shows that he can get from sideline to sideline. Really with Hopper, I just want him to get stronger. You would think, typically you don't have an issue with strength in the SEC, but I just want him to get stronger. I think he's an NFL offseason away from kind of like popping in the NFL. He just needs to get stronger, and that'll probably help him clean up his tackling issues because there are a couple plays he got taken for a ride. You never want to see that in your inside linebacker where he's going on a 10-yard trip with the running back. So I just want him to get stronger, and that'll probably clean up the tackling issue. And honestly, this may be the Packers' pick. I don't want to. I really think he's probably, if I had to, he might even go before Jeremiah Trotter Jr. just because he's bigger, and he has the length. So I think he's like a sneaky guy in the 4th round. If Cedric Gray is gone, I think teams are going to kind of beeline towards Tyron Hopper. So I think I'm writing the analysis as a spoiler for day 1 and day 2. So if guys are cussing out Gutekunst like, oh, you didn't get Wilson, you didn't get Colson, you didn't get Cooper, Gutekunst may be zeroing in on Tyron Hopper. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like him. He originally was at Florida, then he transferred over to Mizzou, and he's been a starter the last 2 years. I think he's kind of similar. So again, like a lot of the guys in this class, he's more of a kind of a will. If you're talking about like as far as the Green Bay or any team that runs a 4-3, he's more of a will. And his testing was not great. His 40 time was okay, 4.68, and his explosive testing was decent, but his agility testing was not good. Overall, he ran a 4.46 short shuttle, sorry. So which is not good. His 3 cone was 7.29, which is not great either. But he's got some explosiveness, he's got some speed, he can rush the pass a little bit, he can cover a little bit. It just seems like still sometimes it's not kind of like similar with Edge Cooper that it take him like a quick half a second to react to things at times. So there's like a little bit of delay there with him recognizing what's going on, what the offense is doing and reacting and stuff like that. If he can, improve that and fix that, he can be definitely a starter at the next level. I think you're just going to have to be careful with him in coverage just because of the lack of agility might cause some issues in coverage. But I think he's a good player. I would definitely be perfectly fine with Green Bay taking him and just having him being basically a backup or even playing some strong side linebacker for them. Since that position is only on the field for like maybe 10% of the game, 15% of the game. So yeah, I mean, he's a good player though. I think, he's probably late day 2, early day 3 type pick.
Oh.
If someone falls in love with him, I think it's probably more of an early day 3 pick, but
late day 2. Ooh.
Maybe, yeah, if somebody falls in love with, his explosiveness and stuff like that. But I think more likely day 3.
You really like him. I like him. You really like him.
No, I just think it's not a great class. It's not a great class, so some guys are going to get bumped up higher than they really should.
Go ahead and say it. Say the word. Say the word. Say it.
Over.
Overdrafted.
Oh, overdraft. Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, guys will get overdrafted. It's like I said, it's because it's a bad class for linebackers. So
it's not a bad class. They just
overall
they just need a little work. That's all. They just need a little work. So remember, folks, like coverage. This is Joseph's defensive coordinator hat going on. Coverage is not as important in an even front defense. It's important. It's just not as important. It's just if you do it right, you're weak or you're strong can cover the tight end. Your middle is spotting the QB and he's covering the running back. If he plays his cards right, his first read is Is it run or pass? If it's run, zero it on the running back. If it's pass, and in today's athletic QB era, it's by the QB. So if he starts to leak out, you can pop his helmet off. So that's just Joseph's philosophy on middle linebackers and even front defenses. It'd be nice to have your inside linebacker be able to cover a tight end. It'd be nice. It's a luxury. It's not a necessity, because you have a strong side, you have a weak side, and there's also this very cool position called strong safety. But it's not necessarily a thing. But I think Tyron Hopper will, he has the majority of it together. So I think Brian really likes him. I don't know about end the second day 2, but I think priority day 3. But since we're in that range, we'll go to another guy. Tested a little bit better than Tyron Hopper, and that's Jalen Ford out of Texas. A little bit heavier, a little bit more bulk, 240, 31 3/4 for his arm length is what I have. And I didn't know this was even a thing. He's a third team All-American. When do we start having third team?
There's like honorable all mention All-Americans and stuff like that. It goes pretty deep.
It was like he's like, you're the starter or you're the backup. Now you got the
third
team, whatever. All right. Great instincts. And he tested decent. He didn't do bad. Well, he tested. He posted an 830. Tyron Hopper posted a 742. So, and so far, Goot's threshold is 758. So I think either Goot's gonna reset that threshold with a 742 at a Hopper, or he's gonna keep his threshold and he goes above it with Jalen Ford. I like him. I don't love him. He's not necessarily fast. I think he's probably more agile than he is fast. So it's pick your poison. This is gonna be our theme probably throughout this episode. Is in an even front, you don't necessarily have to cover a tight end. Granted, Jalen Ford's 4.71 is probably better at covering a tight end than it is covering a running back. You're not really going to find running backs who run 4.7 in the NFL anyway. So it's really pick your poison. I think this is the Packers range between Hopper and Ford. Hopper is more agile. Ford is more agile than Hopper. Hopper is more straight line speed than Ford. I've got, between the two, probably, early 4th round grades. And it just depends on what they like more. Brian, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I like Ford too. He's for linebacker, for college linebacker, say his cover skills are really good, actually. He probably, of course, still needs some work just because NFL is different. But I mean, just for a college linebacker, his coverage skills are really good, actually. So he's already really good in coverage. Kind of like you said, he's bigger. He's got good size, 6'2", 240. He didn't run great. I think most people were expecting him to run a little bit better. Ran like a 4.7. Actually, I have it as a 4.72, but 0.01, whatever. It's not a big deal. But he was expected to run like the 4.6s, so that was kind of surprising. But his explosive testing was okay, but his agility testing was really good. 7.009 three cone, 4.24 short shuttle. So shows he's really quick. He can move. He just may not be super fast, but yeah, I like him as good. Like I said, he's a good coverage guy. I think again, like most of the guys in this class, he's probably a will. I think he can play some middle linebacker just because he's got that size at least. He's a guy you can move around and use him in different situations and positions. He can blitz a little bit, but like I said, his coverage skills are kind of like his calling card, I guess you could say. But he had like a couple sacks this past season, and he can tackle better. He needs to improve his tackling, I think. And his play against the run is okay. It's fine, like I said. I don't know if I want to play middle linebacker for 17 games, but he can do it. If you have an injury, your middle linebacker's injured and you need someone to hop in and start a game or two, he'd be fine. He'd do good. He'd do his job and stuff like that. But But yeah, like I said, I like him. I put him on the weak side and let him cover guys and run and hit and all that good stuff. And yeah, where he'll go, I would say, yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd probably like him a tiny bit more than Hopper, but I would probably say the same range, like late day 2 or early day 3 type of thing.
I can't see him going day 2. At 4.7, I can't. I mean, for some people, 4.7 as a linebacker, in an even front, you're off the board. If he was 6'6", 260 running 4.7, he had hope. But for what he's going to be asked to do in the NFL, I think at 4.7, I think some people are going to just be totally off, or they'll be like, if he hangs around late 4th, early 5th, they might bite down. But I can see Hopper somehow sneaking into the back of like comp pick time. But Jalen Ford out of 4.7, you have 4.7 I got 4.71. That's like
same thing basically. Yeah.
It's like DN. Yeah, it's DN speed. So we'll see.
Yep.
So for the next guy, athleticism is not an issue. And that's Kentucky's Trevin Wallace.
Yep.
He is probably next to Edge and Peyton. It's probably one of the athletic freaks, probably maybe even a little bit better than those two. The problem with Trevin is he has no idea what he's doing. Like, if he knows the play, he will destroy the offense. If he doesn't know the play, could be a 40-yard play. So that's my take on Trevin Wallace. If he had better instincts, better IQ, he's probably a second-round pick. But without that, remember, John Madden said the game is 90% mental. Trevin Wallace probably has about 40% mental at this point. We need to get him to the other 50. So, I'm 5th round. What about you, Brian? I'm 5th round.
I'd say 5th, maybe even 6th for myself. Where I would take him, where I think he could go. I think just because the poor class and plus teams may fall in love with his athleticism, I could see somebody taking him in the 5th. But I wouldn't take him till 6th. Because yeah, like you said, I agree. He kind of like he's the proverbial chicken with his head cut off. Sometimes when he's out there in the field, he drops and it looks like he doesn't know what's going on. Like he's this way, he's that way, he's this way. He's back and forth. Where it's like it just looks like he's not sure what's going on in the play. Like he's like, I think this way. No wait, that way. No wait, I think I go that way. I don't know, type of thing. But he is a freak athlete. So that's why I think most people will have said and will agree that he's very much a Packers type player because he's a freak athlete. But he is a middle linebacker. He's actually one of the few middle linebackers in his class. 6'1", almost 240, but he ran like a 4.51, which is moving at 240. But yeah, how do I put it? He doesn't look comfortable dropping and going backwards. Like, how do I put it? Like, kind of mentally, I guess, or vision wise, but athletically he can do it. He looks good doing it, dropping, because he can move, he can drop, but he just seems like he doesn't know, is unsure what he's doing when he's going forward, when he's attacking, when he's blitzing, run defending. He even still run defending. Sometimes he looks so confused, but when he's attacking, when he's moving forward, he looks a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable, a lot more sure what's going on. But it's just anything where he has to kind of read and kind of figure and kind of guess. He just looks lost sometimes. If he's doing a run blitz and the play call is just attack the A gap, he'll do it, he'll hit it, and then he'll do his job. You know what I mean? But it's just, and then and he's still somewhat young. He was born in 2003. I don't have his exact his age right now, but yeah, he was born in 2003, so he's still pretty young, guy, like 21, I think that is. But yeah, it's just, and he can blitz. He had 4 sacks this year, so. But yeah, it's just. he's a guy that he may never get it. You know what I mean? He may just one of those guys that you play on special teams and he just goes down there, flying down there, and just tackles the runner, the returner, sorry, and plays a little bit of defense as a backup type of thing.
Probably a year ago, Trevin Wallace would have been a fit for the Packers defense because he could have been the run guy in the 3-4. Like, look, all you got to do is go hit that guy. That's all you got to do. Nothing else, But now, Trevin Wallace is actually like a player I hope gets drafted by another team, not the Packers and the NFC North, because if you think about the quote unquote eye candy that Matt LaFleur loves to do with motion and different, different sets, like if Trevin Wallace is starting for the Bears, I would motion the hell out of him. And like I said, it's 40-yard chunk plays all day long. For all you fantasy football folks, if Trevin Wallace is starting his rookie year, whatever team that is, make sure you stream their running back or tight end, because if he's got to do any of that, it's not going to be great. At least not initially, anyway, until he figures it out. I do think Coach Half can simplify the game for him. He's known to be able to do that across the league and college. So I think for Trevin, he's going to have to go to the right coaching staff.
Yep.
So Trevin Wallace could be a Packer in 2 or 3 years. Like he goes to the Bears, we run 200 yards on him twice, and then and Coach Half says, well, now, wait a minute. Let's talk about this. He got cut. He's got athleticism. I think I can get through to him. But outside of the better defensive minds, no disrespect to Joe Barry, but I don't think even Joe Barry, who is the linebacking coach in the NFL, could fix Trevin Wallace. So I wish him the best of luck, but like I said, the game is 90% mental, and Trevin's got a ways to go on the mental part of the game.
Yep.
So moving on, we've got Temple's Jordan McGee. Probably one of the most athletic linebackers in the class. I'm probably going to be called a hater for this. I think Jordan McGee just got lucky. He just kind of like fell into some sacks. Somebody's probably going to be like, oh, no, I feel like Jordan McGee just kind of got lucky and just kind of, he was in the right place in the right time. I don't necessarily believe he has great instincts. He's a little undersized, slightly. I think he's at like barely 6'1", and he's a little bit on the lighter side. I think he's only at like 220, so that's an issue as well. I think, given that Temple is not a premier powerhouse, I think he just kind of fell into 8 or 9 sacks that he had this year. I think he has more promise than Trevin, but I think the size issue, he's going to have to pack on some more pounds. He's probably going to lose a little bit of twitch to him, and then that might be an issue. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I like him. He's a tiny bit undersized, but he's not super small. He was 6'1", 228 at the combine, and I think he played a little bit heavier right around there. I mean, I think he wouldn't have any problem getting to like 235 and playing 235. But I mean, for his size, 32-inch arm, which is good, and he ran a 4.55, of course. But we kind of knew coming to the combine he was going to be a freak tester anyway. Interesting story. Guy from Delaware. You don't see very many guys from Delaware coming to the NFL, especially being freak athletes like that. But even still, again, another wheel type linebacker as far as playing in 4-3 type of player in this class. Run around, speed, tack, hit, see ball, get ball type of player. But his instincts are pretty good, I think. I think again he can improve in coverage, but he wasn't asked to drop in coverage a lot by Temple. So again, it's kind of an unknown in a way. But it's not a thing where it's like you say, well, he can't do it because he did it and he sucked at it. He just wasn't asked to do it very much at Temple. but he has the athleticism to do it, and the few times he was asked to do it, he looked okay. But he was asked. He was like the main guy on that defense because Temple had nobody else on defense really, except they have a corner. I think that'd probably be a UDFA type guy, maybe more late day 3 type guy. But but he's had like 11 sacks in over the last 2 years and stuff like that. So I think he's a good player. I think he's a day 3 guy. I would say probably 5th round, maybe 4th if somebody falls in love with his speed and athleticism. I think they can really, unleash him in the NFL playing as a weak side linebacker and stuff like that. But yeah, I like him.
I think the athleticism. I think he outside of his size, I think he tested elite in the other 3 facets. So I can get with that. I think, like I say, you say he has good instincts. I think just because of the sheer athleticism of Jordan McGee, and then Temple doesn't play the future stars of the NFL very often. I think he just kind of fell into that sack production where the opposing offensive line was just let him have his way. I'd like to see more, and like I said, just because he wasn't asked to do it doesn't mean he can't. So I could live with a McGee maybe. I don't like his length, so I'm going to say mid 5th to bottom of the 5th. I don't think he deserves to be in the 6th or the 7th, but I'm going to say mid to bottom of the 5th. That's just because of not ideal length, and then the lack of the unknowns of can he cover. But yeah, he's probably a will.
Yep, definitely will.
So. All right, we are going to wrap up with our final person. Oh, wait, no. We left a person out. I skipped him over. We have Penn State's Curtis Jacobs. Unlike McGee, I think Curtis Jacobs got lucky because he had way too many future stars in that Penn State defense. And kind of like with Alabama, like when you're playing with blue chip guys throughout your defensive front, every dog's gonna have his day. And Curtis Jacobs certainly had those days when he was in Happy Valley. Decent length. I'll go with that. Decent length. And there's some athleticism there. Not like the high flyers. I think I have him as an 8'4". I'm sorry, not decent length, decent size at 241. I think I have him at under about 6'1.5". But what bothers me with his testing is he only threw up 18 reps. So with me, that's my conclusion with the 18 reps on the bench, that when you have a Chop Robinson, when you have a Kalen King, when you have an Addison Isaac, when you have, what's the dude that comes out next year, a defensive tackle?
Do you mean the linebacker?
Yeah. Wait, is he a linebacker? I thought maybe he was a defensive tackle. I can't think of my name right now. But yeah, when you have guys who are, first rounders, possibly second and third rounders, you're going to eat the leftovers. And I think that's what Curtis Jacobs did at Penn State, because that 18 reps on the bench is kind of concerning, not very agile. So kind of like McGee, where, I think his athleticism allowed him to dominate at a lower level of competition. I think Jacobs just kind of whatever Chop didn't get, whatever Isaac didn't get, he was able to kind of, get to that and, and enjoy the fruits of or the spoils of war, if that makes sense. Brian loves him a lot, though, so I'll let him take it from here.
No, I don't love him. I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I kind of like him because he's another one of those in line of the Penn State guys that we talked about, earlier when we were talking about the tight ends of Theo Johnson. Another guy that's a kind of a freak athlete, but just like for whatever reason they weren't able to put it together on the field for Penn State. It seems to be a habit kind of a Penn State of getting these freak athlete guys who, just like they don't for whatever reason aren't able. They don't get them to put it together, I guess, or they don't help them get there, or whatever, however you want to word it. But because I think he's a good obviously he's a good athlete. I think he's, even though he's kind of like about the size of a linebacker at 6'1", 240, I think you probably play him on the weak side, but you can play him probably some middle linebacker a little bit here and there and stuff like that, or probably inside in a 3-4 type of thing. But he's always been kind of inconsistent. He can blitz a little bit, but again, good tester, decent arm length. 4.58 40. His short shuttle was a little slow, and his 3-cone was okay. So he's not super quick. But he's a guy who, if you take him, he's kind of a developmental type guy. You take him on day 3 and see if maybe you can kind of unlock that athleticism that Penn State wasn't able to, which, Penn State seems not to be able to do that. But yeah, like he's a day three guy. I would definitely take him. I'd be okay if they took him in the 5th round, but I think he's like a 5th or 6th type player that, again, you kind of like similar to who was it? We were talking about Trevor Wallace. Similar to Trevor Wallace in the sense of that you take him and you let him just play special teams as a rookie and just see if you can develop him. But yeah, I think I think he's just, like I said, he's got the upside to be a good player if he can put it together.
I'm good with bottom of the 5th. If he can get stronger, you might have a little more to work with there. Like I said, the 18 reps on the bench, when we're talking about linebackers, like I need guys who can get through the line of scrimmage. 18 reps is questionable. When people don't bench, that's also like a cause concern. I'm like, well, what are you hiding? So which we're actually going to get into next. Yeah, I'm down with Wallace, with Jacobs being bottom of the 5th. Maybe now we're trending early 6th. So, but going on to bench, our last prospect here is Washington's Edifon Olufisio. Eddie, as I like to call him, is a little undersized. I got him at 6 even, almost 33-inch arms. He's not strong. He didn't bench at the combine, and there's a reason for that. The tape shows that he's got some strength issues. If you need him now sub packages, like when the offense is throwing, if you need him to maybe cover a running back, or I don't know if he's gonna be as good in the NFL covering tight ends, because tight ends are bigger and faster. There were not as many premier tight ends in the Pac-12 as he'll be facing in the NFL. So, but he does have some speed to him. He ran 4.56. So it's just a question of his length. He's barely 6 foot. If he's going to be able to compete with the ball in the air, that's probably my concern. But he does have a vertical, it's almost 40-inch vertical, so maybe not so much of an issue. We'll just have to see. I just need him to get stronger, and he's going to be better against the run. If not, he's going to be a pure special teams guy, or sub package, passing game kind of person. If the box is light, as far as not so much on the defensive side, but if the offense is spread out, he's a guy who could probably sneak in through the line and maybe get a sack here or two. But strength wise, probably needs to also work on instincts. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but I could definitely see him as maybe like a special teamer to start out. Brian, where do you see him going? I've got him, probably mid-6 and below.
I could see that. I mean, again, similar to what we talked about before about it not being a great class, I could see him sneaking into the 5th. Just because the class is not great. But just he's an interesting player because he's a dude from Alaska. So like during college, if we all remember during college, and he walked on at Washington. But yeah, he's a little small, about 6'1.5", 236. But had that 4.5, 640, and then had those really good explosive testing. But he didn't do any of the agility. So as some people say, we don't know what we don't know. But I think on film, his agility seemed like it was okay. I don't think it was anything to freak out about or anything like superhuman, but I think it was okay. But he had a super high RAS score of 9.67. But like if you watch his film, I don't see that athleticism on film. Not that I see a bad athlete, but I don't see 9.6 RAS. Just going off his film, I probably would have guessed he was in the mid sevens. Like decent, good athlete, above average, but nothing special. And just his film is just it's okay. I don't hate him. I mean, he's definitely one of the few actual middle linebackers in this class. So I mean, he can.
Where'd he go?
No, it looks like it stopped. He can blitz a little bit. I don't know. Not sure about his upside. He's been kind of inconsistent. Maybe they can figure out a way to kind of unlock his athleticism on the field, type of thing. Maybe he can be a better player. I don't know. But yeah, like day 3, like 6th round, probably. Yeah.
I think the 9.67 is probably because there is no agility testing. I think the agility testing probably
brings it down.
It's probably 7.7 to maybe 8.3.
But it'd have to be pretty bad to drop that far down. But yeah, I don't even think that speed seems like how fast he is on film. I don't see 4.56 on film. I've seen guys pull away from him and stuff, and like him not being able to catch up to like a receiver down the field or tight end down the field or whatever. Like he was trying to chase a running back. I can't remember who was against, but I was watching some film of him, and there was a running back who kind of broke out. And I mean, it wasn't his fault that the running back broke out and got past the line or whatever. But he was trying to catch up to him, and he had a lot of trouble catching up to him. And it wasn't really a super fast guy. I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't it wasn't like a Jalen Wright or anything like that. So I thought that was kind of weird that he couldn't catch up to the guy, but until like way down the field.
Maybe he got tired. I don't know. Yeah, special teamer. I like him as a special teamer, and maybe like your number 3 guy. All right, so we actually did good. We shot through these guys. I tell Brian, to crack the whip, we gotta power through these guys. Coming up next, the cornerback class. You guys are gonna be mad at us because we're gonna be efficient. A lot of dudes are going to be left off. A lot of dudes. But stay tuned. We will be back.
I didn't get to mention my guy, though.
What was your guy?
Tyrese Knight.
Who?
Tyrese Knight from UTEP.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Bring up Tyrese Knight.
Yeah, he's another real linebacker. Of course, I like him. I love him. I love his film. He can get sideline to sideline. He's explosive. He can hit. He plays through the whistle. He got some penalties this past year, actually, just knocking a dude out on the sideline. I think he flipped him or something like that. He's got good athleticism. He can drop in coverage. I think he needs some of these work on that to an extent, but didn't have a great RAS, but I think he plays good, plays athletic, I should say. And he's got a lot of experience. He's a guy who can come in and play right away, possibly even start right away. Has a high floor. And he's just, he's got a good coverage skill. He's just a good all around player. I think he's going to be somewhat high on the Packers board. I think he's a day 3 guy, like probably 5th round.
5th?
Yeah.
And he'd be lucky to be called on the 7th. Lucky. I am not big on Tyrese Knight. Testing was bleh.
It was okay.
He
was like 7.4 RS. I mean, he ran a 4.6. Decent agility numbers.
The 4.6 will maybe get him drafted in the 7th, but I didn't care for the tape. He did everything because UTEP had nobody. When's the last time? Is Aaron Jones the last person UTEP had drafted?
I don't think so. No, there's been some guys since him.
That's a trivia question. We have to go back to that.
I could look it up. They've had some guys. I mean, they have some guys here and there.
Here and there.
Maybe they'll draft Gavin Hardison, the quarterback, or something. We'll see.
Oh, God, no. All right. So I'm sorry. I forgot. We left out Brian's draft crush.
Yeah.
We still got under time. All right. Not next week, like tomorrow, maybe.
When we record, yeah. When it gets
put
out.
Cornerback.
When it gets put out, that's a whole nother question. But when we actually record it, yeah.
Yeah. Cornerbacks, it's 50 million cornerbacks. We're not going to get through all of them. We can't get through all of them. It'd be like a 2-hour episode. Brian's going to be on his best behavior with the rollout of this list so we can get to the guys that matter.
Well, it'll be short list because I'll be my thresholds and stuff, the Packers thresholds.
So it'll I'm trying to keep this
Yeah, it'll be short list.
Short list. There's gonna be some obvious dudes you guys you just have to crucify us about. Anyway, stay tuned. Packers draft room will be back real soon with those cornerbacks. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.